Good afternoon, everybody. The clock is 12:45, and we will be starting with the first speech here at the Future Days stage. And we are lucky to have a visit from the Netherlands here. We have the Ambassador Nienke Trooster. We have from the Ministry of Agriculture, Vera, and we have from Wageningen University and Aarhus University, Scholten. Thank you very much for being here, and I'll give the word to the Ambassador Nienke.
Thank you. And thank you for being here at our presentation. The Agromag Fair. Why are we, the Dutch Embassy, here with a large stand, 8 companies, and a third of our staff of the embassy, and 2 experts flying in from Wageningen and actually from Berlin to be here? We have very good reasons. We Dutch and Danes go back a long way when it comes to agriculture. I became aware of this when I came to Denmark on the 1st of September as the ambassador of the Netherlands to Denmark. I learned that the embassy had been and was still celebrating 500 years of exchange of agriculture practice between the Danes and the Dutch. Because exactly 500 years ago, in 2021, your King Christian II invited Dutch farmers to come to Denmark. And they settled in Amager, the island north of the harbor in Copenhagen. But it was only last week when I visited a museum which is dedicated to this history, a museum, by the way, which was visited by the Queen of Denmark, Margrethe, and our former Queen, Beatrix, as part of the celebrations of these 500 years. But when I came to visit, I learned more details. And one of the details that I learned was that these Dutch farmers were invited not only because of the quality of their products, but first and foremost because of their entrepreneurial spirit, their commercial approach to farming. Wasn't it therefore logic that we as an embassy had hoped to open our celebrative year with a presence here at Agromag, the largest fair in the Nordic countries on agriculture? I think you would all agree that this would have been a very fitting start. But alas, COVID hit and no fair was organized. But pragmatic people as we are, we thought, if not open, let's close our celebrative years with our presence here. Therefore, we are here in this force to have, in a one way, a closure, but on the other hand, hopefully a start of maybe even, again, 500 years of working together on entrepreneurship between the Dutch and the Danes when it comes to agriculture. And I'm not saying this just as a pleasantry, because history is one thing, but if we look at the challenge of the future, we need this partnership badly. We can look back with pride upon what we have achieved in our countries that produce and process high-quality agricultural products. We both are very competitive and find each other on the global markets. But we're also both faced with challenges that ask for more creative and more openness to learn from each other and to work together. Climate change, biodiversity on the threat, animal welfare, a serious issue, and the challenge of safeguarding food security and food safety in a world of 8 billion people, a number that is still growing. Against this background, we have to reinvent ourselves while building on the enormous expertise that we have developed over the years. This all involves not only the application of new technologies, but also the introduction of new business models and behavioral change of those who consume our products. And to achieve this, we need all partners in the supply chain, but also research and government, what we call the triple helix. That this is not easy may be clear. The matters are complex, the interests are diverse, and it is easy to speak about processes and models. But in the end, it's about people, their families, their livelihoods, their future. The Dutch people present here know very well about the protests that we have seen from farmers who had doubts about the models used, the conclusions drawn when calculating the necessary decrease of nitrogen and the role of agriculture in it. Emotions ran high. Protests were widespread and far-reaching. A mediator was appointed by our government, and his report the basis for future constructive dialogue now. One of our experts, he's over there, Jack Vera, our agriculture attaché coming from Berlin, will give you a more detailed picture of the state of affairs in the Netherlands and the challenges we face. We know that the Netherlands, with its limited surface and its extreme population intensity and density, may be a specific case, but we're also aware that other countries, including Denmark, are faced with similar dilemmas on this issue of nitrogen and the wider challenges. So it is great to use this opportunity at this fair, where so many stakeholders are present, not only to share our concerns, but also to share the solutions that we think are there or are on the horizon, and test them against your experience and your expertise. We're very happy, therefore, that Martin Scholten, he's here on the first row, is here to enlighten you on the innovative solutions that are developed or under development. He's well placed to speak on this occasion because he has one leg in the Netherlands at Wageningen University and the other leg in Aarhus University in Denmark, where he teaches and researches. But he's not the only Dutch representative with a research perspective here. A colleague from him from Wageningen University will be here the whole week. And, for instance, the Peatland Innovation Center and Dutch National Research Program on greenhouse gases in peatlands are present here as well. By the way, as part of our celebrative years, we had visits from delegations specifically on peatlands and how to use them in a sustainable manner here in Denmark and in the Netherlands and in the Netherlands. But apart from research, we also have entrepreneurs that present what we call research products. For instance, Royal GD, a leading organization in animal health and animal production, and the Schippersgroep, which focuses on eliminating the need for antibiotics while increasing animal health and profitability. Thinking of high-tech solutions, I think pixel farming robotics and cow managers are companies to look out for. Pixel farming robotics designs and manufacture advanced agriculture robots to support biodiverse farming, and Cow Manager has changed the world of cow management systems with their active ear tag technology. And I'm very happy to see that sustainability, as it is at the core of businesses like AgroBiosource, that helps coordinating the supply and demand for products suitable for biodigestion, water purification, and soil improvement. Or Protix, a market leader in circular, natural, and sustainable proteins from insects. but also a very concrete product, like the concrete retaining walls produced by Bosch Beton for the agriculture sectors, are made with a focus on sustainability. I really hope that through the Dutch representation of this triple helix, research, business and government, we can offer added value to this fair. We consider it an excellent opportunity to celebrate, share, showcase and test our solutions for the future, and to see, therefore, we see it therefore as a very fitting closure of our celebrative years of 500 years of exchange in agricultural practice, agricultural entrepreneurship between the Dutch and the Danes. To make sure, however, that a proper follow-up is guaranteed, we, from the government side, have signed a so-called Memorandum of Understanding, a paper in which both our ministers for agriculture, the Dutch and the Danish, commit their governments to support, facilitate and promote exchanges on sustainable agriculture between the Dutch and the Danes, them being farmers, farmers' organizations, researchers, policymakers, or businesses, companies related to agriculture. And we at the embassy, me and my staff, a number are present here, will keep them to their promise. And please do not hesitate to visit our booth. You can see the orange there. That's the booth of the Dutch government, where we are present together with the companies that I mentioned. Please come today, but tomorrow we will host a Agri Cheese and Cheers, where you might guess Dutch cheese is presented and drinks are served. Maybe an excellent opportunity to meet and exchange. Thank you again for being here. Now I will give the floor to Jack Vera, who will tell you a bit more about the state of affairs in the Netherlands when it comes to agriculture. And thank God we also have somebody who will present us what solutions we will have for now and in the future. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Madam Ambassador. Yes, my name is Jack Vera. I'm the agricultural counselor at the embassy, also working for Germany. And I would like to go a little bit more into depth of, to the Dutch agriculture. Facts and figures, and the state of affairs and the challenges as were mentioned by the ambassador. And then my colleague Martin Scholten will go into the solutions. We hope at least that they are. We'll see. Yes, Dutch agriculture. This is the figure that we traditionally present, which means the imports and the exports that we do in total. As often is phrased in the press, the Dutch are the second largest exporter of agri-food products in the world. Now, we are a very tiny country, so we definitely don't produce everything. But we produce a lot. Of all the exports that we produce, 3/4 is produced in the Netherlands. Mainly, ornamental plants, in value a big product, but of course also meat, dairy products, and vegetables. Vegetables, for example, are 14 billion euro of value in the export, and most of it is produced in the Netherlands. What is not included in these figures are the R&D and technology that we export. And that is also a very valuable thing, and that is actually what we like to promote most. It's not so much only the transportation of goods, but it's production, and it is technology development, becoming more important. Okay, for the ones that didn't visit the Netherlands, a few facts about the state of affairs. We are highly competitive in dairy, potatoes, glass houses, horticulture and flower production, and poultry and pigs. We work in an internationally competitive environment, and our companies are mostly therefore producing on the world market, which means a lot for the development that has been going on in the past 40 or so years. Our country is mainly a flat country with a lot of grassland and different kind of products. We are well known for glass houses, but they take only a few hectares, you could say, of all the land that is available. It's a very highly efficient way of producing, therefore. And especially in our country, which is so small, very useful until now. But I'll come back to that later. This is what most tourists see in the Netherlands, or have the picture as the Netherlands. And except for the picture, well, down bottom left, the other ones, I could say, are on thread. The flower bulbs, they take quite a lot of land in the western part of our country, where there's a huge pressure from people living there, wanting to work, infrastructure, etc. So there's quite a lot of pressure there. Cows, and of course you know that in Denmark, in many cases they are not in the field, they are not on the grassland, they are inside. So this is a rare picture, you could say. That's at least at the moment the case. This is how agriculture actually more looks like. Highly efficient. You see some companies also here, like lately, not on our stand, having an own stand, having a lot of machinery, indoor farming, completely controlled poultry breeding, and of course some arable production. That is what is mainly what is looking, our agriculture is looking like. Then, to talk a little bit more about challenges. Part of our land, country, below sea level, as you might all know, which means that we have a lot to do on the water levels to be able to farm. And in these days, these are all PT lands. There's a lot of pressure on that, of course, from the environment, from the climate. And it's not possible to farm this in a very efficient way, as you can imagine. Small parcels, small, with a lot of water waste. That is part of our country. These are the glass houses, mostly in the western part, glass cities, as they are almost called. You'll see them when you fly in from somewhere in the world during the day or during the night. A lot of light is coming out of it. It has been reduced already for the past 20 years because of legislation. So now only in a limited way lights, for example, are used in the evening or night. The shades off, or it's a different kind of lights. But also there, because they are in the western part of our country, which is mostly densely populated, there's a lot of pressure on that too. And then we have almost always the consumers and the people living almost next door to farming. And that is something that we have to take into account, also in redeveloping agriculture. Consumers have their ideas about what farming should look like. They want to have it clean produced, and that's means a lot for the way of farming. It's one of the reasons actually why biogas is not that big in the Netherlands. Because of the smell it used to produce, a lot of people say, well, I don't want that, so they complain about it, and that means that licenses were a big problem, until now at least. What is also important in the Netherlands, if you look at the small country at the top left more or less, is that we have a lot of infrastructure. This is the flow of goods into Europe. And we have the port of Rotterdam. It's very nice. It's an economic hub, a very big hub. But that means that waterways, railroad, and the road is coming from Rotterdam and spreading all over Europe, which means a lot of infrastructure there. So in that tiny country of us, that means, again, we struggle with the use of our land and the pressure on that because of that. Now, Denmark and we are small countries compared to the ones that are here on top, like Spain, France, and Germany. If you look at the figures right, then you see where the differences are. We both are countries with a big pig industry, and per square kilometer, I put the figures here. The Netherlands has 341 pigs, and Denmark 308. It's almost the same. On dairy, there's already a little bit of a difference. We have much more dairy per square kilometer than Denmark. Looking at population, we are 4 times as densely populated, which means a lot on what we can do and how the future of our land use will look like. And that is where the pressure is coming from. And this is another figure which is important. This is the state of nature in the Netherlands, according to the EU reporting. So you can see that, well, in most habitats, natural habitats, we have less than 50% good state of nature. And European legislation requires us to improve that. And that's where we have to do a lot of efforts. And not only, of course, by agriculture, also by the industry, but agriculture is playing a big role here. For example, the reduction of meadow birds, which is a typical agricultural habitat birds, is decreasing for 20, 30 years already. And that is partly, at least, because of the way of farming. So yes, there are a lot of questions there which need to be addressed. And that's what we need to work upon in the coming period of time. This picture, unfortunately, isn't Dutch, but the explanations are there above. And that is the contribution of agriculture in air quality, nitrogen deposit, and greenhouse gases. Especially in nitrogen deposit and then air quality, agriculture plays a big role. And the levels in the Netherlands are such that they go beyond what they should be. So that means that we have to do something. And our government has recognized that. So the state of nature needs to improve, and not only in Natura 2000 areas, but also, for example, on agricultural land. The nitrogen deposit needs to be lowered in order to improve the nature. And for agriculture, this could mean the reduction of emissions by 40% compared to what they are now. And also the air quality. Nitrate runoff is an issue. So also there we have targets that need to be met by European legislation, the Paris Agreement, Fit for 55, and all these policies. So we have a lot to do. And the ambassador was speaking already about the unrest in the Netherlands of farmers, and that was because of these issues. There's a lot of pressure we need to address. Politics in the last 20 years didn't do as much as they had, was supposed to do. So that's one of the reasons why there's a lot of pressure now. What are we foreseeing? And that's my last picture. And then my colleague will go into the solutions. Is that, these goals I just explained about, we have set as government and the industry is aware of them. There will be different strategies by farmers to adapt, to be able to produce in a sustainable way. And we have come to the conclusion that we need an integrated approach for this. So not only reduce greenhouse gases or improve water quality and then doing that at different times in different ways, but take that all together. Also to give the farmers a kind of certainty for a period of time, which they also expect. Government has put in a lot of money, more than 23 billion euro for the coming 10 years. So you can do a lot there. Money is not the problem, I would say. It is finding right ways for transition and solutions. And that's what I would like to share with you and give it over to my colleague. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Jacques. And let's go to the future. 500 years of cooperation, Denmark, Holland, is a good thing. But there are more years to come. And I will not say that I will speak about the next 500 years, but 2030 is mentioned, but there is also a world after 2030, and 2050 is also a target that we internationally agreed. But where we are now is not where we want to be. So I want to give you an insight in the philosophy that we have in the Netherlands. What is the farming the future means, what is necessary, and how we bring it in practice. So let me see if I can. I first give you a very short, faster class on the philosophy in the Netherlands. About 5 years ago, 4 years ago, 5 years ago, we came up with a new vision for our agricultural policy. And that was in a time that we were very proud of the Netherlands as a kind of showcase country in the world, where it was also good with production efficiency, good money earned by agriculture, a top in the world. It was already said the second largest exporter, yes, but that was partly based on imports, but also the strong agricultural position in the Netherlands. The Netherlands was full of agriculture. Actually, Denmark is equally full with agriculture, with the same area of land, and only you share it with 4 times less people than we share it. And all these people are very ambitious in their dreams, and they all want to realize that. It's about the good environment, it is about the quality of life, it's about traffic and transportation, the connection, it's about the energy transition with windmills and solar panels, etc., etc. So agriculture is more and more squeezed in that. Nature is more and more squeezed in that. So it was a time to reconsider our position. And actually, this is the philosophy that at that moment, the parliament and the coalition of ministers accepted. We've said we did a good thing by no more hunger, and we contributed to the Green Revolution with more production, based on the best resources that we could think of. In the last 70 years, we were helped by fertilizers, chemical fertilizers. The chemical fertilizers were so good that we also were helped by special crops for feed, making animal feed, so that not only the crop production and the plant production was boosted, but also the livestock production was boosted. But with top resources that becomes more and more scarce in a growing world, and with a little bit of supply of those resources. Actually, when you think about the agricultural system as we have, only 30% of the biomass that we're producing in those agricultural systems in the final end is being consumed by people. The other 70% is leftovers, is residuals, is considered waste. And when you have waste, that's not good. But waste is rotten and causes the emissions. If you come to a better balance between what you put in and what you take out, then you really can gain. We have calculated that in a circular agri-food system where you're resourcing the agriculture by circular fertilizer, circular feed, circular energy, that you really can produce twice as less, or use twice as less resources to produce the same. A factor 2. With the result that you are not wasting and not imbalancing, and the emissions can go down to, theoretically, 0. And that's where we have to be. It also follows the philosophy of the planetary boundaries. Actually, agriculture is just an agricultured part of nature. The same principles apply for agriculture as for nature. Mother Planet provide the resources for the nature. I'm an ecologist by background, and studying natural ecosystems evolved during the long evolution, they are wasting nothing. They are using everything that's available in the surroundings to produce. The better the conditions, the higher the production, more marginal the conditions, the lower the production. But that is the way how modern nature works, and that is where our agriculture stems from. And then, Mother Planet provide us enough resources. So we have to be very keen on the resource efficiency. So here we come. Food security, yes, for sure, and still there, especially the distribution of the food to secure food over the whole world, but also to consider the resource efficiency. And then we can learn from other industries where the circular economy is already adopted. If you're using the residuals to resource the new thing, then you can make a closed loop. And actually, that is what the basic philosophy is behind our Dutch vision. Go for circular fertilizers, go for circular feed, go for circular energy to produce our food, nature-based, nature-inspired. And that's fine, that fits all in the Sustainable Development Goals and the planetary boundaries and all the theories that are there across the world, global, and we agreed upon that. But yeah, we can think globally, but in the final end, it has to be acted in practice locally. And the world is not the same at every place. So we cannot say there is one best, maximum, optimum food system for whole the world. Every little piece has their own place-based solutions to consider. And that means that we have to come to an agriculture that is diverse in character, like nature is also diverse in character, and that's the reason why we have that nature so good. Another thing that nature learned us is that you need plants, yes, to make biomass from sunlight and all kinds of minerals and water, but you need animals and microbes to make the circle around. So please consider when you speak about a protein transition that is not just a way to go to plant-based food production, but a balanced animal and plant-based food production. And don't forget the role of microbes, whether it's in the rumen of the cows or whether it's in the soil, in this important making that circular. Okay, so that's where we are. So we have the challenges that Jack already explained to you. We know that we need the farmers and all around the farmers to realize that. We are still speaking 5 years now later about our vision and our policies. But the farmers are still a little bit awaiting which direction, where to go. So we have clearly the responsibility to provide the guidance. Circular agriculture can be very difficult to understand, and what is circular, if you make the circular in 1 square meter or at your farm circular, or is it also in a wider range? Well, I always say as local as possible and as far away as needed. The important thing is that you close the loops, that you find a way that you're not wasting anything. Circular resource use on the one hand, on the other hand, circular resource production. So as a farmer, you're not only, as a dairy farmer, you're not only using circular feed, but your manure is also the basis for circular fertilization and energy production. So you also become not only the main food product, but also the byproducts that has value. No waste and losses, I've already explained it. Of course, One Health, because if you make the world connected in circularity, you also have to consider that you not make a playing ground for the wrong microbes. We know the COVID situation, so it should be in a One Health perspective for humans, animals and plants, in our society, in our agriculture, but also in nature. Adaptively connected to the environment, so place-based solutions based on diversification in the agricultural landscapes, consider that, and the credible perspective. Our farmers experience all the regulations that we provide to them as being we have to invest in incremental improvement of the environmental performance, but it costs a lot of money. There is our margin. Actually, in circularity, you also can gain money by using not only the high cost resources, but also the local available resources, and by producing the circular resources. Okay, still it's a little bit theoretic, so let's see what happens in the practice in the Netherlands. And yeah, actually, some of the companies that are also here, you can recognize that they are in a kind of circularity modus. And it was already explained, I'm working in Aarhus, not only for the Aarhus universities, but also for the other 7 Danish universities. And that's the same what the Danish have. They also have a kind of circularity in mind. The World Resource Institute produced 2 years ago the report that they showcased Denmark as the country with probably the best resource management in agriculture. So what we want to have, probably you already have, but probably we are more eager to it, and for you it's more just daily work. So can we come together? Can we come together in that? These are a few snapshot examples. It's some examples about the feed for future, which is circular feed, to produce feed not only from the standard crop, feed crops like soy and maize, but also from the other crops that we have on the land. And if we're thinking about the future of crop management, we speak also about intermediate crops. The whole year around, having crops on our field. If it's not the super food crop, then it is in a strip crop other crops, or in the time crop rotation. Not year by year, but the full year around crop rotation. And there are all kind of plant-based biomass that can be converted in feed as well. We are not only depending on soy, etc. The same holds for the residuals in the food chain, in the food industry. Yeah, we use already a lot of byproducts from the food industry, about 50%. But the other 50% we are not using. So that is a factor too again. With food waste and yeah, sometimes you need something new in between, like the insects that you can grow on the residual biomass that you otherwise cannot valorize, and the insects. It's not only human feed, but especially human food, but especially animal feed. We have 70% of our world only contributing for 5% to our food system, the marine environment, and we do that by catching the big fish high on the trophic system. But low in that ecological food chain, there are the algae, the seaweed, that are really a great resource also for the agriculture at land. So these are examples. The manure resource. Manure is a resource. Not just digestion, but also look at what's coming out of the digestion. The organic fraction and the mineral fraction as really substitutes, alternatives for the chemical fertilizers or the peat turf excavation for soil improvement with organic material. And yeah, the part of it can also be grown as duckweed, which is again a very good source for animal feed. Breed for food is the next steps in the breeding programs. Not just production efficiency with the best breeds, with the best feed, and the best races with the best fertilizers and chemicals to be used to get the best of the best breeds, but to come up with breeds that are able to play the role in the circularity, that are more resilient, that are more so less effective by pests and diseases. So that's really a challenge for the breeding industry, to see it from a broader perspective. And finally, the digitalization and the world of the robotics and the sensorics that really opens new perspectives for place-based, fine-scaled management of your cropland, your horticultural system, or your livestock. Okay. So far we are underway, but it is still a little bit all in splendid isolation. I'm not seeing yet that it is really a transitional a change that we see, and we need each other. We have to come to the connection. Moreover, it's also a little bit technology innovation driven. And yeah, we need technology to help us to fulfill the ambitions, but it starts with the practice. The technology is only supporting your good practice. The practice between one farmer and the other farmer is quite variable. Can we learn from it? Can we find together with farmers and scientists the best practices, identifying a benchmark way of improving the performance by learning, by doing? Because we do not know, and we do not have 500 years to find the new system. We have to have it in place actually in 2030 or in the final end in 2050. So it is more and more that we say we have to do it together, and therefore also the local-based approach, because there you can not only include the farmers and the business to farmers, but also the people that live in the area, other entrepreneurs in the area, other sectors in the area, scientists, bringing them out of their academic laboratories and bring them in the field labs that are there available on the farmland. So that's the way of going to an interactive and evidence-based approach. I name it integrated, inclusive, integrated, because you integrate all the challenges, but also all the solutions into the new system. Inclusive, as you are participative with the actors in the field, and not just science or just farmer skills and entrepreneurship. And interdisciplinary for the science. And this is where I came in to Denmark. With this triple I discussed with the 8 Danish universities. You're looking at Wageningen University, you think that that's the best in the world. But when I look at the 8 universities in Denmark, and I see the capacity that you have, and the skills that you have, and your papers, etc., if I sum it up, you're you're bigger than INRAE in France, and which is number 2 in the world, in Europe considered, and you're almost even as big as Wageningen University, that's seen as the number 1 in the world. So, stop the internal competition here in Denmark, start working together here in Denmark, and go for a competitive position in Europe. And by the way, can we share it as Wageningen in the Netherlands? Because we need you as a friend in that play. Because not all the European countries understand what it is to have a country with a agricultural tradition, with sustainability by heart and an innovative mindset. And we have the same. Yeah, we have many differences, I can tell you. The political sentiment, the societal sentiment, the character of people. It's less people here, more people in the Netherlands, etc., etc. But in the final end, we have so much in common that I'm happy that START, the Center for Sustainable Agriculture, has now started last year. Highly appreciated by European Commission, highly appreciated by Novo Nordisk Fund. We're discussing how we can use this as a help for the innovation, AgriFuture, here in Denmark. And we are also very happy as Wageningen that we are seeing a new friend that's equal to us in the big challenge. And then we also can find the solutions together there. So farming the future together? Yes, thank you.